Whether it's hideous design, terrible performance, or just simply falling apart, these cars had it all. Join us as we explore the 15 absolute worst cars made in the 2000s, ones you'll definitely want to avoid driving. At number 15, we have the Renault Avantime. With its unconventional design, the Avantime raised the age-old question, is it a car, a spaceship, or a work of art on wheels? Craig Cheatham's book World's Worst Cars states the car was doomed to failure by its very concept. From poor engine idling to the automatic gearbox refusing to engage gears, especially in reverse, and even brake and ABS problems, the Avantime faced a multitude of issues. Like a complex piece of abstract art, the Avantime was admired by some, but its enigmatic quirks left many puzzled. At number 14, meet the Chevy Uplander, a minivan that somehow missed the mark when it came to excitement. Frequent engine problems, transmission slipping as early as 70,000 miles, and a multitude of electrical issues, including total battery failure, left it struggling to compete in the crowded minivan market. So if you're hoping for a thrilling ride, the Uplander would kindly ask you to lower your expectations. Number 13, the Chevrolet Aveo, a subcompact car that quietly rolled onto the scene but failed to make a big splash. While it may have served as reliable transportation for some, the Aveo had its shares of problems. Some of its worst issues included timing belt failure as early as 66,000 miles, engine troubles, failing ignition coils, and numerous transmission problems. But still, this is nothing compared to the upcoming cars on this list. And before we continue, take a second to hit subscribe so you never miss our upcoming videos. And for instant updates, consider enabling notifications. At number 12, we have the Pontiac GTO. In 2003, Pontiac reintroduced the GTO by importing a modified Australian Holden Monero to the United States, equipped with a 5.7-liter V8 engine sourced from the Corvette. However, owners reported a series of issues, including problems with the rear differential, fuel system, and power steering, just to name a few. Car and Driver included it in its list named the 20 biggest automotive flops of the past 30 years, saying that the long-awaited return of a legendary nameplate, the Pontiac GTO, arrived not with a bang but with a whimper. Sales remained far behind expectations, which was mainly blamed on the car's bland design, poor quality, comparatively high price, and Australian roots. At number 11, it's the Lincoln Blackwood. With only about 3,356 units produced during its short run, the Blackwood was a major commercial failure. It was withdrawn from the market in a year, but selling off the remaining inventory took 2 more years. The Lincoln Blackwood had limited practicality and payload capacity, with one of its most questionable features being the plush carpeted bed design that prioritized luxury over utility. To make matters more disappointing, it didn't even offer 4-wheel drive, not even as an option. Oh yeah, and there was also the high starting price of $52,500, which was excessive for what it offered. Number 10 on our list is the Jaguar X-Type. Named one of the 50 worst cars of all time by Time magazine, the Jaguar X-Type was designed to compete with compact luxury cars such as the Mercedes-Benz C-Class, but it turned out to be a massive failure. Car and Driver wrote of the X-Type, engines seized, interiors collapsed, transmissions exploded, and drive shafts ate their U-joints so regularly that you could set your watch by them. The X-Type was launched in the summer of 2001 and remained on sale for 8 years. After production finished in 2009, Jaguar did not launch a replacement model until the arrival of the Jaguar XE in 2015. At number 9, we have the Chrysler Sebring. Introduced in 2007, the Sebring tells the story of a car that promised much but for many delivered far less. One of the most commonly reported problems was the oil sludge buildup, which often led to engine failure at just 73,000 miles, leaving owners with substantial repair bills that could rise above $4,800. And just to add to the frustration, from water pump failures, engine overheating, and transmission problems, it felt like the car was in a constant battle with itself. And if that wasn't enough, all of a sudden the radio would just start flashing and stop working. So, much like that radio, the Sebring had a habit of tuning out right when you needed it most. Number 8, the Jeep Compass. Okay, when it comes to the Jeep Compass, there's no way to sugarcoat it. It's simply the worst model in the Jeep lineup. It's a cramped, noisy, poorly designed vehicle with a poor repair record, according to Consumer Reports. Owners reported major suspension problems, mysterious Christmas lights appearing all over the dashboard, and multiple expensive electrical issues. Oh, and do you know the TIPM, the module that controls the electrical system in your car? Yeah, that would commonly fail too. Additionally, the engine would randomly stall while driving, leaving you stranded on the side of the road. So if you value your hard-earned cash, do yourself a favor and stay away from the Jeep Compass. And if you're enjoying this content, don't forget to subscribe and show your support by hitting the like button. At number 7, it's none other than the PT Cruiser. While the PT Cruiser may hold the title as one of the ugliest and worst cars ever made, it's ironically one of Chrysler's most iconic vehicles. While other cars tuned down the performance in order to give you better fuel economy, the PT Cruiser was not only really slow, but it also got terrible gas mileage and had extremely bad handling. Some of the most frequently reported PT Cruiser problems were related to the engine. They've been known to cost more than $2,500 to fix and have occurred as early as 65,000 miles. The PT Cruiser, a blast from the past, brought retro styling to the modern era. However, it didn't bring much else to the table. Number 6, the Volkswagen Phaeton. Controversial or not, the truth is that Volkswagen's top-tier model was a disastrous failure. It got the 24th spot in Top Gear's list called Fail of the Century, where they wrote, "The Phaeton wasn't a bad car. In fact, it was a gloriously engineered masterpiece of a car." Then why was it such a massive failure? Well, one of the biggest reasons was its ridiculously high starting price, especially for the 6-liter W12 model, which had a starting price of over $96,000. And as Top Gear wrote, no one actually wanted to buy a money-no-object luxury limousine with a Volkswagen badge on the front. Sales were catastrophic, and in March 2016, Phaeton production ended and the manufacturing plant was repurposed for the production of electric vehicles. At number 5, we have the Saturn Ion. While it aimed to be an affordable compact car, the Ion fell short in many ways. The Ion was notable for its quality, safety, and construction problems. Another point was its unusual design choices, with the most criticized feature being the placement of the instrument panel. Unlike traditional cars, where gauges are positioned in front of the driver, the Ion speedometer and other gauges were located above the center console. You might wonder, why would anyone do that? A puzzling choice indeed. At number 4, we have another GM product, the Chevrolet SSR. Despite its muscular appearance, the SSR didn't live up to its looks in terms of power and handling, making it one of Chevy's most memorable but ultimately unsuccessful experiments. Some people didn't want to buy it for the sole reason that they thought it was ugly. But even if you could overlook its appearance, the SSR proved very impractical. Despite packing a 5.3-liter V8 with over 300 horsepower, the bulky SSR struggled to break 8 seconds for the 0 to 60 mile/hour run. So it wasn't fast, it didn't handle well, and it was cramped. That's a perfect recipe for failure. And let's not forget its ridiculously high price tag, which could go up to $50,000 with all the add-ons. At the 3rd spot, we have the Dodge Caliber, a compact hatchback introduced in 2007 to replace the beloved Dodge Neon, which was not as successful in the marketplace. Reasons included its bad styling, cheap and poorly made interior, poor performance, and unrefined powertrains. Owners' most common complaints were related to the transmission, which would fail as early as 17,000 miles and repair costs would go upward of $6,000. In addition to transmission problems, shaky build quality, and high repair costs, the Dodge Caliber was also notorious for its tendency to rust away, which further contributed to its poor reputation among car owners. Number 2 on this list is the Hummer H2, a massive and rugged vehicle with a supposedly powerful 6-liter V8 engine. What could go wrong, right? Well, being introduced in late 2002 and with oil prices on the rise, it wasn't quite what people were looking for, especially when you consider that it only got around 10 miles per gallon, and even achieving that was lucky. Many owners report issues with the battery draining quickly or not holding a charge, as well as problems with the vehicle's wiring and electrical components. Some owners also reported that the H2 is prone to rust and corrosion, especially in areas where road salt is used during the winter months. Additionally, as the H2's popularity decreased, its resale value plummeted. This, combined with the rising concerns about the environmental impact of such fuel-thirsty vehicles, led to the Hummer H2's end. Its production was eventually stopped in 2009 as General Motors faced financial difficulties. And now, the number 1 worst car of the 2000s is the infamous Pontiac Aztek. Introduced in 2001 one as a crossover SUV, the Aztek failed to impress buyers. The car's design was polarizing, with a front end that looked like a beaver and a rear end that looked like a toaster. Autoblog listed the Aztek number 2 on its list, the 20 dumbest cars of all time, criticizing its styling, while Edmunds.com ranked it as the worst car of all time. It was plagued by various reliability issues, such as blown head gaskets, coolant leaks, and major electrical problems. Simply put, the Aztek aimed to stand out from the crowd, and it certainly achieved that goal, just not in the way you'd expect. Next, watch the video on screen for your YouTube recommended pick.